This episode of Reasonably Spontaneous Conversation is brought to you in part by Clay Boykin Life and Business Coaching, because we all get stuck at times. For more information, visit clayboykin.com. By Janelli Bean, for fun and engaging children's books with cute and colorful characters. For more information, visit janellibean.com. And by Wise Owl Organizing, simply set up for you. Organizing consulting and clarity coaching, virtual or in person. For more information, visit wiseowlorganizing.com.
Let's talk about reform, because
Yes.
I'm very interested in the concept of redemption.
Okay.
On how do we as men
Mhm.
who have dealt with this, who have had this position, because it's the power dynamics between men and women, and how we have in this I'm telling you, testosterone is a tough drug.
Mhm.
I mean, it can really mess up a young man's mind. It's really hard. So how do we this path toward redemption, this
Okay.
path toward actually being able to be reformed?
I think the first step, in my personal opinion, is: am I interested in looking good or being good? Do I want to get it right? Because if I'm looking to serve my own ego, I'm
Mhm.
looking to serve myself, I'm looking to give the appearance that I do no wrong, it's going to be a problem. That's going to be a conflict. Now, if I'm not interested in looking good but being good,
Mhm.
I'm interested in getting it right, that's a whole different. But that's a decision.
Right.
Because see, a lot of times we have to get a hold of ourselves. We have to ask ourselves, if somebody gives us feedback and we don't quite like it, we don't want to hear it. I think the first thing we have to ask ourselves is do they have a point? I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to realize it. Do they have a point? Because if they have a point, I think you have to entertain it. Even if it's somebody who does not like me and I don't like them. They tell me something and they're 100% true. I have to listen to that.
And
Because
I'll
my goal
feel
is
it.
to get it
And when
right.
it hurts, when it hurts, I know there's something there. There's a nugget that I could, if I'm able to sit with it rather than react.
Mhm. But see, this is going back to, you asked me a question about my mother. My mother, she really wanted us, as young Black men, and understand that sometimes, there might not be a second chance, and understanding that not everybody will give us the benefit of the doubt, of understanding that, listen, you cannot act emotionally. She said 10 seconds of losing yourself could cost you 30 years. So she said you need to be able to get a hold of your emotions. And one of the ways she was training us was to talk about it. Use them into words. Don't put them in the fist. Use your words. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Get that out. And then, finding people to talk to, understanding, who's in your corner, who's not in your corner, and who actually be there for you. And even if you have to write it down, even if you have to sit here and stand up and just shout it in a room, you get it out, because you need to have control of your mind. And then if somebody does say something to you, you have no right to go over there and wail on them just because they said something. If you have to protect yourself and there's no other choice, then I got to do what I have to do. But this is not how we conduct ourselves. For example, my mother, with domestic violence, my mother never condoned hitting a young lady. That was unacceptable. And I would always tell women that I dated, I'm not afraid of your father, your uncle, your cousins, or your brothers. I don't think any of them can see me. I don't. I'm afraid of my mother, because if she finds out, there's gonna be trouble.
Yeah.
Trouble. So so
I love that, because I think about how this reconciliation, this gender reconciliation, to where we actually can meet women as equals, rather than in this power dynamic. It totally changes everything, because I love and admire alpha women. It has really been something, because I love a strong woman. I love to be able to stand up and stand tall with a woman who is intelligent and emotionally intelligent and driven, and I admire that so much. It just feels so good to work with and collaborate these with powerful women.
Well, I think that, to me, it's about who has the best take on it.
Yeah.
How do we make what we're doing the best it can be?
Mm-hmm.
Like whether it's a woman, man, to me, it doesn't matter. Who has the best vision, who has the best idea.
Exactly.
As a director, I'm not interested in all of my ideas being the one that we use. You give me, my job is to come ready. My job is to come know what I want. But also my job is to listen when I'm getting good counsel.
Oh,
Because if you have a great idea, then I need to listen to that. So to me, it's not about, again, love strong women, love independent women, love
yeah.
hardworking women, love all of that. And like I say, and to me, I'm not coming in feeling any kind of way because I'm giving you my best.
Yes.
So, and I let the chips where they may. If you have the better idea, then we go with that.
How lovely! What a lovely way to be on a set with you, and being able to know that. I would feel great freedom to be able to do that, whether I was in front or behind the camera.
Well, on a monster, Shalandis Willis Smith,
Mm-hmm.
we were practicing our lines,
Mm-hmm.
and we were working on location. And I was going to use a particular accent, and she said, "Ron, I don't think you should use that." I said, "Why not?" And she told me her reason why. And I said, "You know what? I can't take the chance that you're right." She made a lot of sense, and I appreciated her for that, because she could have been like, I don't, maybe he's threatened, I don't want to insult him. She collaborated with me. She bought in.
Oh,
She told me, and she was 100% right. She was 100% right, and I thank her so much for that, and just for doing the film. Her and I, we went to Petersburg High School together, and so it was so nice working with her on that film. But again, this was me listening to her. For example, when you think about a monster, you think about The Color in Your Eyes, you think about When We Pray on Them, and you think about Unbrotherly Love. They don't happen without a young man named Shirod Greene. Shirod Greene is a young man who basically, I said, listen, this is what I want to do. Will you go with me on this journey? Because in Richmond, Virginia, is a woman named Kelly Lemon who does a lot of different events. And one of the things she does great, she always on Instagram she tags people to give them credit for their work.
yeah.
And that's how I found
Nice.
Shirod. Yeah, she's all about doing that, because she does a lot herself, and she stands out herself, and she doesn't, so she's really good about that. And I saw Shirod. I looked on his page, looked on his Instagram, looked on his website. So I said, "Hey, listen, Ronald Dillard Jr. I'm in Richmond. Would you meet with me?" So I took him out to lunch, and I said, "Listen, man, I think that your shots and everything is fantastic." And at the time, I thought he wanted to be a DP, director of photography.
Right.
Turns out he's interested. He's a writer director also. So I made sure that since I'm acting in 3 out of 4 of these films, I would times when I was said as an actor, I would say, we went over the shot list. You know what I want to do. You have your ideas. You have the con. You're the director right now while I'm doing this scene. And I would let him a lot of times dictate that, and give him, his shot too. Because and so with these films that I've done, those 4 films do not get done without Shirod Greene, because one of the things about Shirod is that when I talked about a shot that I wanted, he would be ready within minutes. Within minutes. We are going.
Wow.
We are going. I mean, this young man is he's incredible. And with all of the awards that we've won with the films, and all the success of the films, if he isn't the director of photography, he isn't the producer on that with me, I don't know if we have the same output, because
No.
the way that we work together, and the way that we move, and how humble he is, and how much knowledge he has,
Yep.
and how and the young man was as good as his word.
The thing that so impresses me is the immense amount of talent that there is out there, if we're willing to use it and collaborate, because there's an art to collaboration. There is to me, collaboration. When I was growing up, I always loved harmonies. When I would see, because harmony did something for me. I always preferred bridge to chess. I always preferred doubles to singles. There's something about the collaborative art form that just feeds me, because it's synergy. 1 + 1 is greater than 2. And it ends up being way beyond what I could have done.
I mean, there's nothing better than collaboration, when people come together and they're bringing their best, they're bringing their all for for one goal. We want to make the best. We want to make the best production possible. It's nothing better. It's nothing greater than that, because I have seen it done where it wasn't.
Yep.
As well executed, or people were on the same page, or there was some ego, or there was not being prepared. See, my thing is this. I have friends that grew up with me, who have worked with me on every project that I have. And whether it's my friends or whether it's not, If I'm the head of the production, it's my job to come ready. It's my job to do my preparation. Because to me, that's what Steven Spielberg does. That's what Ridley Scott does. That's what F. Gary Gray does. You
Yep.
know, if I want to be a production like Broadway, if I want to be like a Broadway play, if I want the film to be like Warner Brothers, the Paramount Picture, you have to do the work. You know, you have to do the work. And for me, I have friends who have children,
Yeah.
and if they're watching me, I want them to see that I'm on my A game. I
Exactly.
want them to see that I come in ready. Just like the television shows that I've created. You know, when I go in to pitch these, a lot of times I have between 1 to 3 seasons. Doesn't mean it's going to go like that, but my job is to come in knowing what in the world's going on. What world do we have? Is it sustainable? Do I have a plan? You know, that's what my job is. You know, and that's what when you look at the J.J. Abrams and Shonda Rhimes, when you look at the David E. Kellys. I mean, oh my God, David E. Kelly for Ally McBeal and The Practice. This man was writing at least like 15 episodes a season. 24 episodes in the season. To me, I don't think that's easy. But
Yeah.
you know, goodness gracious. So
Yeah, it is. It is astonishing. So here at the we're doing this first one here on the
yes.
end of August, of or the middle of August of
Mhm.
2022. So what does your desktop look like? What does your what things are in your windshield that you can share? And I don't know about your creative process.
Mhm.
If your creative process isn't to share before a certain
Mhm.
place, but I would like to have some idea of the insides of how the wheels are turning and what are the things that you're curious about and what are the things that you're moving toward here in 2022.
Oh man, it really depends. I mean, because if you're talking about the television show that I created, you know, it's
Mhm,
basically centered around that. I have other films that I definitely want to do. One of them particularly, which really coincides with it's another relationship piece. It's something that I was
mhm,
looking to shoot. I
mhm.
was going to shoot it this year, but I may end up shooting it next year. But I have another film that it directly deals with the thoughts of suicide. You know, it directly deals with the thoughts of when you feel like you can't deal with things anymore.
Yeah,
And for me, that's something that at one point I did contemplate doing. Now, here's the thing. So fortunately, I got a chance to pitch Spike Lee in 2014. It was one of my projects I wanted to take to HBO. And I met with him. He gave me an hour and I pitched my heart out, and he invited me to NYU the next day to sit on one of his class, which was very generous of him.
yes,
And then when I got back, I waited, and about a year and some change, I found out that it wasn't a go, and it crushed me to the point where I had contemplated suicide
yeah,
because I felt like I would never get another opportunity like that again. And what's interesting for me is that I have a religious a spiritual background
hmm,
where I just felt like what, I'm under attack. That's what I realized.
yeah,
Now the interesting thing that happened, within the next year, I fortunately was able to talk 3 people out of killing themselves. And I never would have understood what they were going through had I not had that experience. And for me, it was so that's one of the projects that I'm looking to, I'm looking to present and bring out. So that, also again, my biggest focus for the next 7 to 10 years is, being a showrunner. It's basically.
exactly. And that the showrunner is
Mhm.
what I love about show running is that you run the show on what you're
Mhm.
doing. So here's what I'm asking.
Yes.
What are you going to be spending your time on in the next 2 weeks? How does that look like? What does it look like on a granular level? Like, but I mean, we see David when it's all finished. We
Mhm.
don't see David half finished, or how the
Okay.
piece of
Okay.
granite.
Well.
So I want to go granular. I want to go
Okay. Okay.
granular day to
Okay.
day with you right
So,
now, and tell me
okay.
what's going on.
Okay, well, the thing is that the first three television shows, we think about the pitch deck is done, story Bible's done, all those are done. Now, the fourth show that I'm creating, which basically deals about my mother's life and deals with the Department of Corrections, that's one that I'm developing with right now, and that's something I'm sitting down with her, talking about different things, not getting into specifics, but basically trying to outline, what is actually suitable to be in this particular show. Because what you talked about earlier about her being able to go from working in that environment to coming home. And her focus was so amazing that when she came home, there was no trace of whatever she dealt with at work.
Wow.
That was, yeah. I'm talking about the
Wow.
focus, the
How
mental
did she do
fortitude.
that?
I mean, I
How
think,
did she do, how did she possibly not bring that home after seeing the faces of there in
Mhm.
the correctional facility, to seeing those young boys, and so the lack of support that they had, and then coming home to have to look at her sons?
well, the one of the first things with mother is very, very spiritual. So, so if for her, she would say, definitely God had a hand in it.
Yep.
That's number one.
Oh, no, no, no. We
The,
all
you know,
exactly.
number one. Number two, her focused on exactly doing the job, and then when she came home, here's my responsibilities. My mother was always big on responsibility,
Yeah.
always on this is what you're supposed to do and to knock it out, ensuring that we're very responsible, and ensuring that we it wasn't just about that you had to, but you took it as a badge of honor and you did it. This is my responsibility. Let me knock it out. No
Hmm.
excuses. No halfways. My mother was my biggest critic acting wise. She used to always say I was early on, I was a Virginia ham. She's like, you hammed it up, you're hamming it up, Ron, you're hamming it up. Until one time I was in this church play where I played the devil. And I went in and she said, Ron, you're De Niro tonight. And that was huge. that was huge,
Oh,
because she was, at that point, she was my biggest critic. She wasn't being me, but she was like, I'm going to tell
yeah.
you how it is. And she was like, nah, you did it. And ever since then, it's been, she's like, okay, you got it.
Well, that was, I mean, I think we all grow in with different encouragements.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us can grow with negative encouragement, and some of those, I am really a really faint flower. I need positive encouragement to show where I'm strong. Show me how to be stronger. Show
Mm-hmm.
me, give me the direction. I mean, when I was a kid, Ron, one of the things that happened is that people would say to me, just be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know I don't know who myself is. What do you mean
Okay.
that just be myself?
Okay.
That doesn't make any sense to a
Mm-hmm.
kid.
Mm-hmm.
And that was hard for me. And the other one is that I would hear, what's the matter with you?
Mm-hmm.
I promise you a kid does not know. If you say, I know it's a control, and I understand why the adults would say that or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, but so those were two things that I was dealing with. I was dealing with. So having the positive encouragement, having some kind of a great, but to have her instill this in you,
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to have that kind of modeling, to be able to know that you can bring that to all your productions that you're doing. That's really where I was going with that conversation in the first
No,
place.
no, absolutely. But it isn't, you spoke on something I wanted to address.
Would you?
See, in life, sometimes I believe everybody doesn't have a cheerleader in their corner.
Mm-mm.
And some people can go down some dark alleys
Very.
because life is tough. So what I say to them is that sometimes you have to be the person you're championing in your corner. You have to ask yourself, do I want to continue to keep going through this? Do I want this? Do I want better? And to strive out for better. And
Yeah.
here's the thing, it's not easy, but to be able to function in chaos is not easy, but there's power to that. There's power to that, because if you don't have somebody in your corner, but you want better, then you may have to be the one that says the positive stuff about you. And being able to look at yourself accurately and say, you
Hmm.
know what, this is unacceptable.
Yeah.
This is good. The more you can do that, even with yourself, the more you can sit here and say, hey, well, do I like this about myself?
Hmm.
People before, for example, my voice, I'm constantly working on different accents. I'm constantly trying to talk
Right.
different because I feel like something wrong with my voice, so I'm
Right.
constantly trying to get different characters who talk different, who say something, have a different, point of view all the time.
Yeah.
Because for so long I didn't like my voice.
Yeah.
But now I'm at ease with my voice, because when I think about a Jeremy Irons and the way he talks, I mean, he is so, like,
Oh,
his voice is very distinctive, but he makes it work. He has a very distinctive voice. But when you see, like, if you see him in Margin Call, oh my God, he makes it work. So I realized I may not, or James Gandolfini, what he did with Tony Soprano, this other voice, it was different, but at the same time, he make it work. So for me, I was like, listen, my voice is my voice. Use it where it fits. If there's a need to change, if there needs to change it, if I need to make it and change it to another different character, then I can definitely do that. But the same, but be okay with my voice and who I am. So
Oh man, that is so cool because it is. Do you see your journey continuing in both acting and directing both? Does one take precedence and writing? Of course, I
Mhm,
mean, this is one of the things that I love so much about
mhm.
when I was in the prime of my career,
Yes.
production costs were so high
Mhm.
that it really put a barrier for people to be able to get in. Well, right now there is more power on this thing than there is
Yeah.
on old time big 35 millimeter. We're talking about, so it really takes the creativity. Is, are you
Mhm.
willing to work hard enough?
Yeah.
Because if you're working hard enough, you can have access to the tools to be able to make high quality entertainment.
For me right now, being the fact that the showrunners is what I want to do, to me, I'm devoting the next 5 to 10 years
Hmm.
to writing and producing pretty much.
Right.
Because now here's the thing, because if you go to a network, and first of all, I may not be the showrunner for that first particular show, which I totally understand that, because you want to make sure that now if somebody says, "Hey Ron, can you step up and do it?" Absolutely, because for having funded all of my projects myself,
Yeah.
having to be in charge of all these different things, now you're going to tell me now I'm going to be working with 75 to 150 people who are very good at what they do, and I can't get the job for. Listen, I'm not walking away from the challenge, because it is inconceivable for me to think that after doing all of this stuff that I have to do on my own, now I'm going to have help and marketing people and people that are in your corner that want to do it, and now I'm going to drop the ball. Not on my watch. But I do understand if you want to get a season one. But to answer your question, I'm thinking for the next 7 to 10 years doing that. Now, for me, one of the things I would love to do is that probably, as we're in the off season, when you're off hiatus from the writers' room, to still write, you need to be in something. Like the best compliment would be for like a J.J. Abrams asked Tyler Perry to make a cameo in Star Trek, or when David Fincher put him in Gone Girl, which to me was terrific casting.
Wow.
That would be the best for me, because I am an actor. I do love acting. One of my dreams is to be in a Nancy Meyers film where I'm in New York, I'm in a cafe, it's raining, and I'm talking to the guy about the girl trying to get the thing. So, I'm a big Nancy Myers fan. So, that's so if that were to happen, that would be great, But yeah, so
Well, and that's the neat part about it, because I find that the and again, understanding my privilege, I still find that for me, the universe will respond to my internal perspective of myself.
Mhm.
It isn't a correct correlation, but I mean, but if I keep my eyes up, if I keep my horizon up, I'm going to see more. If I just keep right in front of me and say, no, I'm limited, I can't do it, it basically has only one answer to every question.
Mhm.
Yes. Life is hard, and man, nobody will watch me, and yeah, I can't get. Yes, I'm bound and directed to exactly the people that are coming into my life, and I will do it like Ron. That's going to happen. This is a dream come true. This is for me as good as it gets.
Well, I mean, the thing about it is I love your passion. I love how curious you are, and that you look to have a natural, just straight conversations. I love that. For me, what I notice is that the constant doubt and doubting myself, I spent more time than I would like, that I feel like is wasted because of
Yeah.
the doubt, because of
Look
the
at
fear.
look. I'm 74. Don't
Yes.
do it. Don't
Yeah.
do it. I'm telling you, I am you in the future
Mhm.
who's saying don't do that.
Yeah. I've learned that, because once I stopped all the doubting, what I realized, what happened to me was, it was like I was stopping all these creative juices that were coming to say we can do it bigger, faster,
Yes.
quicker. And that as long as I had that blockage of doubt, and what I would call sitting under the dark cloud, it couldn't come through.
Yeah.
Because once I dropped that, here's all the, I mean, it would take me a long time to write a project, and I've been writing things. I have short films that I've written. I have features that's in my head that I think will be, really good, that I'm probably going to write probably more. So I'll probably start writing in December, because it's a feature about pretty much about road cops in a perspective that I've never seen before. So, and I really want the audience to question, like, if I do my job right in writing this, the audience will ask themselves, you know what, I don't know what to do here. I don't know if they're wrong, because I've never seen it like that before. So it's just so the next 2 weeks, to ask you a question about the day to day, I'm pretty much going to be getting getting the outlines plotted for the pilot episode, finishing the story Bible for the 4th show. So that's what we're working on.
That is plenty to do. All right, before we close up shop on this first two, is there anything that is on your mind and heart that comes up, that burbles up, that you would like to talk about?
The biggest thing that I'd like to talk about is just to people, anybody that's listening to me, is to, first of all, if there's anything that you want to do, decide this is what you want to do. And then put together the best master plan you can to obtain it. See, I didn't have the benefit of mentors outside of a David E. Gordon. In 1998, in Petersburg, Virginia, there became a studios called New Millennium Studios. And it was done by Tim and Daphne Reed. And despite my efforts, I could never, ever get kind of in contact to them or kind of get a mentorship with them or anything like that. And that's not them. That's not on them, because they have mentored and they have invested in other people, in that area. I just, I wasn't one of them. But the mentorship I got came through magazines, because one of the reasons Ridley Scott is and the reason I was able to find him, a lot of his DVDs he had direct commentaries on. So I was able to listen to those, read it in his interviews.
How is that not like going to school? You sit there and you're going, oh my God, I'm getting an actual master class on the film.
It is, but then you have to take it a step further, because now you have to sit here and study, what kind of angles are you doing? What kind of cameras, what kind of shots, what kind of boom mics, what kind of recording equipment do you need?
Exactly.
And then also storyboard. Do you need a storyboard? You not need a storyboard. What kind of shots? Can you see it? Can you afford equipment that's going to take you from just the basic shots to giving you more, give you more scope, giving you more land? All these things. Even again, like Jerry Bruckheimer, like for example, F. Gary Gray. F. Gary Gray is a director. He's a Black director, but to me, his films, you can't tell what color he's in, because Friday, one of the best classics, you can call it urban comedy, you can call it comedy, whatever you want to classify it as, then set it off. But you can call it as an urban crime drama. But then he does The Negotiator. So now that's a whole different film that you might think James Foley would have done.
Exactly.
And then he does, Man Apart, and then he does The Italian Job, and then he, so what I see with that, and like Antoine Fuqua, who's done, he did The Replacement Killers, he did Training Day, he did a King Arthur film, he did The Magnificent Seven, he did The Equalizer.
Yep.
That, and then also, I gotta say this real quick. When I think about Steven Spielberg, you think about E.T. and a lot of the fun-loving films and everything, and then you see Schindler's List, then you see The Minority Report. Minority Report, when I saw that, I was like, okay, there are no limits to this thing. Or David Fincher, you see Seven, you see Gone Girl, you see Fight Club, but then he does The Social Network. So whatever you try to define me as, The Social Network says, no, I'm a director, back off.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you
pleasure.
for this first two. Could we do two more? Ernie Banks used to say, let's play two. Because he was for all you non-baseball fans, he was a Chicago Cub, never made it to the World Series because the Cubs didn't, but he always loved baseball, and he would say, let's play two.
Absolutely, I would love to.
And we can continue this conversation and continue to get to know you and to get to know your and to learn with you. And please give my regards to your mother, who I'm so grateful that for all of her work that you were able to do so that I could get you here today.
Absolutely. Listen, I definitely would do that. Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to the next one.
This episode of Reasonably Spontaneous Conversations has been brought to you in part by In Search of the New Compassionate Male. For more information, go to newcompassionatemale.com.